storm that was here, bringing an enhancement to the winds that and just enhance that onshore flow. So, that's what we saw right on the coast of New Hampshire. Elsewhere across the region, the wind was one of the biggest calling cards. We had snow as well. And now we're finally going to get a break after all this weekend's weather and the wind yesterday that caused all kinds of challenges. And now we get back into spring-like weather with thunderstorms. So we go to Chicago, watching for thunderstorms for you Thursday into Thursday night. We're going to see, again, that risk maybe for some severe weather, as you heard from Greg here, probably a little further south that we see the risk. But let's look at how it plays out. So throughout the day on Wednesday, that's going to be kind of the destabilization that happens where we get the moisture returning, the dew points come back up a little bit, and now the rain comes in across the area. We've got Minnesota and Wisconsin, all across parts of lower Michigan as well. Rain comes in Wednesday into Thursday, spreading in across the Ohio Valley as we get into your Friday, then to the northeast as we get into the weekend. There you go, rain coming in Friday night. Rainfall amounts, for the most part, are going to be less than an inch. There's an area that could see about 1 to 2 inches. We'll watch northern Illinois, northern parts of Indiana into Ohio. And we've got rainfall in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, by the way, you ended up with some snow on Sunday. You measured 0.4, so not even a half inch. But we're back to the warm temperatures, 70 degrees on Thursday with rain coming in. And then we may get a few thunderstorms Thursday night with a few more rain showers continuing on Friday. All right, so for the northeast, here comes your rain. We see it happening Thursday night into Friday. Rain showers moving in all across the region. There'll be some snow, but boy, you got to go up pretty high to get it up here into northern Vermont and New Hampshire or northern Maine. I think maybe a better chance as we get into the second half of Saturday, just as some colder air spills in. But it's short-lived here. It's not going to be a huge storm. Slight chance of some flooding out there, and again, rainfall on the order of less than an inch in most spots. Now, where there's more moisture to work with is actually in Colorado, Alex.
Yes. Yeah, look at this. I mean,
forecast.
Yeah, because they could be big time or bust.
Yeah, it's a combined factor, right? You have the uncertainty with the weather part of it, and then the complex terrain interacting with the weather makes it that much more challenging.
Subtle.
It's an exponentially more difficult problem.
Yeah, subtle changes in wind makes all the difference. Well, a week from today is the first day of astronomical spring, and it starts just after 11 on Tuesday night Eastern time. We're giving the bonus points today for your pictures.
Well, how about Karen, who says not yet, but
doesn't it?
And early, actually, for some, for many. We're going to show you some of those maps that actually prove that coming up. You can go to Threads, send us your comments, or you can share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV.
World coming up a little later on the show. We'll talk about the upcoming solar eclipse, right? With the Rochester Museum and Science Center. That's coming up at 40 past the hour.
Yeah, Rochester's one of those spots that's going to be right there in it. They've got a whole weekend planned to enjoy it.
Yeah, the path of totality, that's the place to be.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be talking a lot about it. Of course, we have live coverage on the Weather Channel that day, but we'll bring you everything that you can expect here coming up on the show and talk more about Rochester. Areas where we have some active fires right now. This is the smoke emissions and where we have fires, not necessarily the largest of fires, but all fires. And you can see that there's a number from Missouri down through Arkansas, even in the southeast where it's been so wet. But you'll notice that there is some fire concern today here with, the fact that it is so dry and it's going to be heating up and dew points are dropping. So still a concern despite the fact that we've had a lot of rain lately in the southeast. But the areas with the higher risk are in the spots that are truly the driest, in terms of dry in the ground, dry in the air, low relative humidities. We've got an elevated fire risk today with fire potential there from eastern New Mexico into West Texas, including in the Panhandle, and then all the way up into Oklahoma and Kansas as well. There is a critical fire risk in parts of this zone, including for tomorrow, including Amarillo and Lubbock, Midland. We've got towards Elk City in Oklahoma, that risk as well. Really, the low relative humidity is going to be a big factor. And Greg was talking about the dry line and that being a factor for storm generation. But behind the dry line, it's really dry. And so that's an area where that fire risk is elevated or even critical. We've got brush and grass fires and an elevated fire weather outlook that can steadily spread. Small fires are usually easy to control, but once it becomes critical, things can get out of control pretty quickly here. And fires may be difficult to control and extreme. It can become unmanageable here. So these are conditions that we're going to watch for into tomorrow there into West Texas, Alex.
All right, well.
When you see some of these numbers that are coming out, let's look, how high are we going? All right, 76 St. Louis.
Is that warm enough for the pool? Yeah, it's a little, maybe you'll bump up a couple and then you'll get there. But I mean, 70 in Chicago, again, that's today what we'll be finding. So a lot of warmth out there, well above average here, 20 to even 30 degrees above average. How many, we've been saying a lot of that here for the last couple of months.
That's how we end up with the record warmest winter, you know, for so many, in the upper Midwest, especially there into the northern Great Lakes. All right. Above average today, tomorrow, and Thursday, and you can see where it is. It's mainly in the eastern half of the country. There will be below average air, and that'll be in the west.
Yeah, hanging out there, which will help to fuel some of the wintry weather that we find there, but that's not happening east. It's all going to be warm here. Big ridge essentially is the dominating factor here, and as we work towards the latter part of the week, trough digs into the west, so that's where we'll keep things on the cooler side, but look at the ridge building here eastbound. Late week around out there, keeping things in the 70s and now some of those 80s.
Yeah.
Now we're
talking about pool weather here. 80 in Dallas. You know, it depends on the dew point, too, because if it's really dry, it can be kind of chilly when you get out of the pool.
That's a very good point. Absolutely got to take that into consideration. It does cool down a little bit in Chicago tomorrow, 63 degrees. Again, still above average out there. And you'll see D.C. for you, average is 55. We're nowhere near that. String of the 70s, which I'm sure will help with the cherry blossoms, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Really interested to see how we do. Now, last year, about this time, we were a little ahead, actually, where we are this year. And it feels like it's been warmer this year.
It seems like it, but it's just so odd, right?
Yeah.
Slight cool down by Saturday, but again, still quite a bit above the average. Well, what goes up must come down. You got to.
And welcome back to America's Wedding Headquarters. Snow lovers, this one is for you. Resorts in Colorado about to get a big burst of snow. Feet of it even.
Now, where it's warmer, that's fueling storms and heavy rains. The bullseye, the Central Plains into the Midwest. And Dr. Postel, you got a bit of a closer look at what we could see and when.
Yeah, I think we're going to start off with a chance for thunderstorms tonight.
East of there, some heavy. Again, after what we've seen already, we've already passed our March average rainfall. We can stop.
We're not even at the mid part of the month yet.
I know.
Amazing. Yeah, and you can clearly see, I mean, look at these areas here from Carolinas down through parts of the lower Mississippi Valley. Look at that. 5 inches there in Montgomery, more than 5 inches in Jackson, nearly 6.5 around Atlanta.
And see, the thing is, you actually don't want it to stop raining because it's not good to have these long dry periods. Right. You just don't need big downpours like we've been having.
It'd be nice to just kind of, you know, trickle here, trickle there, trickle.
One day instead of 3 days.
Nope, we got another string here in the ATL. I tell you, those soccer matches, my kid hasn't played a soccer game yet because every weekend it's getting rained out. Going to happen again this weekend with more rain for Friday into Saturday morning, and then Sunday another burst of rain.
You got to get them
Thursday.
You got to get them on turf. We play. We still play.
Do you on the turf?
That's why I'm just I'm good at like keeping myself dry.
Here's the setup. Mid to late week, there's the moisture that is working northbound here, coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, one of those key ingredients when it comes to dealing with rain. You got to have some moisture. And how about the warmth? That's also going to help with the rain and storms.
It is a factor, you know, can add to the instability. But when the temperatures are warmer, the dew points can be higher, too. So, you know, the Gulf of Mexico, we got to check on that to see just how far above average we are, because that's always a factor, you know, brings in the more moisture.
Yeah, absolutely. So fueling some of the storms Dr. Postel was talking about, some of those stronger storms back in the middle of the country, but then a lot of rain that really starts to get going here, essentially Wednesday night into Thursday, right around the Arctic, and then you'll see that expanding and eventually pushing east.
So, you know, like we've seen with the past couple events here, it becomes less of a widespread severe weather concern and more of a heavy rain concern that you'll see across the south and east with several days of rain. Jackson, Montgomery, places that had flooding last week here, could see it again. Yeah,
so we'll watch that zone. This is Thursday into Friday. Heads up, Little Rock, you're kind of right smack dab in the middle of that. And then Friday into Saturday, we'll shift that zone a little bit farther to the south and east.
Everything is so soggy out there. Well, we've got clouds moving.
Way to make the most of the celestial show in the sky, and the celebrations will last far longer than 3 minutes and 38 seconds. Going to stretch for days.
Rochester is hosting a 3-day Rock the Eclipse festival, and with us now is Hillary Olson.
Looks like we may have lost the signal there.
We've got a little partial behind us. And so they talked about the fact, Deborah and Hillary talked about the fact that all of North America will at least see a partial. And so everybody gets a chance to partake in this in some way. If you get to the path of totality, I mean, that's really when you get to see the big show.
That's like peak eclipse, if that makes sense.
You know, I still haven't seen it because of the clouds. So,
Jen, we're gonna cross our fingers this time around.
But I can tell you, even, you know, in spots where you're in the path of totality, the show is long. We say it's 3 minutes. A lot of thick ice here. It affected so many different parts of your winter experience. Now we're seeing things bloom early, all the way up here into the Great Lakes region almost. And so this is a look at the spring leaf out and the departure from average, where you have red, you're ahead of the game, blue behind, and where you have the darkest is red. We're about 20 days early when it comes to leaf out.
I mean, yeah, throughout the Ohio Valley, through the Central Plains, and no surprise because some of those areas have been so crazy above average.
Yeah.
Things are just coming out.
This index, the Phenology Network, uses the lilac and the honeysuckle bushes to that sort of is their trigger for like leaf out. That's the one they use. You know, and we were just talking about things don't seem to be ahead in the Atlanta area. Like we're kind of
look at that,
maybe a little behind. It's
weird that it's like a little hole showing up there.
I think it's the rain and clouds that we've had. Too much rain.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. Well, here we are. Next couple of days, looking for things to blossom even more because of the temperatures that'll stay warm for millions, over 200 million here all the way through at least our Thursday, particularly in the eastern half of the country.
Yes. All right. So the leafing out will keep happening. The blooming will keep happening. We've got warmth continuing. Temps are going to be in the upper 70s in Texas today. We go up to the upper Midwest. We're near 70 in Chicago.
70 in Chicago? What is up with that? All right, let's talk about, is this going to be a long-lasting thing, Dr. Bostel, when it comes to these temperatures staying this warm?
Lower 48, but I don't think it's going to last that long. Probably a few days.
Yeah.
So basically what we've seen most of the winter, you get a little quick shot and then it's out of here in no time.
A quick shot, but this is going to be an interesting shot because this is the time of year where a lot of plants have been growing and we're ahead of schedule. And this is going to knock us back and hit us with some reality.
Yeah, you brought up a good point with agriculture. You know, you think about the peach trees, apple trees, buds like that. Well, our question of the day is our ticket booth last night at the soccer game, and there's like 4 Bradford pears right across from us, and people kept coming up. They're like, "What stinks?" But it's not us. It's not because they smell like BO. I mean, they're really bad. And I was like, "It's not us. It's the trees." And the people weren't believing us. I'm like, "It's the trees."
You know, that's funny because when I was in Kansas, smell I can't get.
Well, hey,
you're
that's
lucky.
a benefit.
You are lucky. It's the worst smell.
It's kind of, unfolding this week, and it's really going to bring us that snowy time in the west and severe weather in the middle part of the country. They kind of go together.
It's classic March, really.
Yeah.
You know. Well, we're going to watch a thread of and we see our next storm system track in. So these are all the storm reports that came in. A lot of them wind, some rain, of course, some snow to the north, but really wind was one of the biggest calling cards with our northeastern system. The next one that comes in will bring some thunderstorms. So Greg was talking about this. Chicago, you're on that edge of getting into that chance of storms, perhaps on Thursday into Thursday night. Today's going to be a warm day. Chicago today, 70 degrees here, but we do see a big pattern change once we get into this next system coming in, then next week. So enjoy the warmth while you have it. Of course, the rest of the week doesn't look that great. You'll see that rain moving in. This is Wednesday into Des Moines. I mean, we need the rain in Iowa, so this is good news. Rain moves into Indiana on Thursday. By the way, Indiana, I wanted to tell you, in about 9 minutes, you have a statewide tornado drill that is happening. And that your alert shouldn't go off on your phone, but you might hear some sirens outside. So I just want to make sure that you know that this weather that we're getting this week comes later on, and it's on Thursday. What you're seeing today or hearing today is really just a test for severe weather awareness week. Okay, back to the forecast. We've got Ohio into some rain and maybe some thunderstorms. This is now Friday, and we see that move into the northeast as we get into Friday and Saturday. There'll be maybe a little bit of snow on the back edge of this like last time. Not a lot here. There's just not a lot of cold air that comes in with this. Rainfall will be about 1 inch in most spots here. Maybe we get into 1 to 2 watching near Chicago, northern parts of Indiana. Just multiple chances of getting storms coming in. We'll do that. Pittsburgh, we get our rain that comes in Thursday night. Friday sticks around into Friday night. Pittsburgh, you did actually pick up a little snow on Sunday. 0.4, not even a half inch. We're done with that. Look at this. We've got temps heading to 70 by Thursday, and it's rain that comes in with this next system. Alex.
Well, parts of Colorado will be that you have in other spots.
Never is. No snow forecast is easy, though, right?
Right. This is just extra difficult.
Exactly.
Throw some mountains in there, and it makes the weather forecast that much more complicated.
Yeah. Yep. Well, a week from today is the first day.
So we have the benefit of not having to smell them by looking at the pictures.
We had a nice conversation off air, and actually we mentioned it before that
bears though.
That's it.
That's it. That's the
It's the only thing in life I can't smell.
That's amazing. How you evolved into that.
I know, right?
We can go to Thread, send us your comments. You can share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV. And splashdown for parachutes were like mesmerizing the way they just kind of folded
I thought it was like jellyfish for a second. When you quickly look, I was like, oh, look at the jellyfish that are glowing. No, it's parachutes.
You know, and I don't think they have a window in the capsule, right? So they don't get to see all that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Out there. Now, these are fires based on smoke emissions. So you can see, it looks like a lot here. They're not necessarily just the big, largest fires that are ones that kind of count when you look at the fire count. But you've got a number in East Texas, Louisiana, even in the Southeast where it has been so rainy. There's still concerns with some fires. And there's even a fire risk out there today since it's going to be pretty warm and dry. Where the air is especially dry and the ground is dry. That's what we want to focus in on, though, for the biggest fire danger. We're looking at eastern New Mexico, western Texas, western Kansas, and Oklahoma. Relative humidity is running low right now here, below 40%. And this is where we have an elevated fire potential today. Amarillo, Lubbock, up towards Wichita, all in that. It actually goes up tomorrow. We've got a critical fire risk. Pecos, Texas, Midland, Texas, Lubbock, Amarillo, all in this zone tomorrow. The air is going to be even drier. And Dr. Greg Postel was talking about where the dry line is going to help maybe provide some lift for thunderstorms. But behind that dry line, the air is very dry. So we are concerned. Once you get into that critical range, fires can start easily and spread rapidly, and fires may be difficult to control. We're in that elevated today, and that means brush and grass fires can steadily spread. Small fires, generally easy control, but you always can see something get out of hand. So be careful out there today here. Something like close to 90% of fires are started by people, Alex. So, do your part.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing that does...
Welcome back, everyone, here as we get with you on America's Morning headquarters for the snow lovers. This forecast is for you. Resorts in Colorado about to get a big burst of snow. Feet of it even.
Yeah, it's going to be piling up. But, it is March, which means snow is, well, not the only thing that we're dealing with. Where it's warmer, well, that's helping to fuel some storms and heavy rains. Bullseye, how about the Central Plains? We've got to keep an eye on the folks there into the Midwest. Dr. Postel has a bit of a closer look at what we could see and also give us a sense of the timing of when the worst...
We're watching a lot of rain east of there. Per usual, like we've seen so many times, which is why we've added up to more than a month's worth of rain already, not even halfway into March for cities like Atlanta.
Yeah, it's, 6.5 inches there. Charleston, you're very close to that mark. Montgomery's seen quite a bit of rain. It clearly stands out. Lower Mississippi Valley and across the rest of the Southeast since the beginning of the month. It has been a bit soggy.
Yes, more rain in the forecast here over multiple days. Yet again, the Atlanta area shows this is an example for so many in the Southeast. Friday, thunderstorms. Saturday and Sunday, we've got rain in the forecast.
Yeah, so not looking so bright. I guess the one decent thing is temperatures won't be too bad.
No, so it's not bad if you're sitting at a soccer game in the rain. Also, this 81 on Thursday is going to at least kind of make up for it a little.
Jen's breaking out the pool, heating it up.
I'm thinking about it. 81. That's nice. So we've got the moisture coming back, though, and you'll see that. You'll feel it with the southerly flow coming in. You'll be watching as you get through the next couple of days, not just the temperatures going up, but dew points will go up, too.
Absolutely. 70s and 80s, you're bound to have a bit more moisture in that type of air mass. And so that's going to help to fuel some of the storms, some of those that could be severe, Dr. Postel was talking about. But as you head east, I think the severe threat will lessen, but the rain threat will continue.
Right. And because everything is so saturated, you got to watch out for that flooding concern. We've got areas like Jackson back in rain starting on Thursday. Montgomery into Friday. Here comes our rain.
Nashville, you're getting in on it as well. This is Friday morning. The rush hour probably not going to be too great heading into Friday night as well. That 20 corridor, you'll be in and out of the rain showers and thunderstorms. So
some areas to watch for flooding potentially Thursday to Friday. We're going to keep an eye on Texarkana, Little Rock, Memphis. This is the zone getting inches of rain here in just a 24-hour time frame.
And then by the time we move from Friday morning into Saturday, we'll expand the area and then push it a little bit farther to the south and the east.
Model showing us where we're going to see some of the biggest rain. They're slightly different in exactly where, but 3 to 5 inches, both of them have that as a possibility. Well, cloud
to make the most of the celestial show in the sky, and the celebrations will last far longer than 3 minutes and 38 seconds. Going to stretch for days.
Rochester is hosting a 3-day Rock the Eclipse festival, and with us now is Hillary Olson. Eclipse because you cut such a large path across the country that people can get to it. So, Deborah, why is it important to get kids to see out to see the eclipse?
Absolutely. There will not be another experience.
That is the best advice, I think. You don't want your experience to be tainted by traffic.
No one does. Yeah. No experience should be tainted by traffic.
That was Hillary Olson with the Rochester Museum and Science Center and Deborah Ross. Thank you so much for joining us today. And look, the whole nation, all of North America is going to get to see some portion of the...
Look at that.
Yeah.
Different methods to check it out there. And of course, cloud cover is going to play a role in the viewing. Yeah. Jen, you certainly have experience with that.
But I will also.
It's just odd.
So that's why everyone will experience this here. And of course, we will be airing it on the Weather Channel too, with live crews set up at 6 spots along the path of totality. And by the end of the week, the pollen, the mud, but that is such a beautiful spectacle.
Yeah.
That redeems it all.
It does. It does. It kind of brings you back to okay, it's not a bad season after all.
So right now, though, a lot of you are seeing scenes a little early, a little ahead of schedule. This is a look at the spring leaf out by the National Phenology Network, which looks at when things leaf out based on the honeysuckle and the lilac bushes when their leaves come out. We are well above average, more than 20 days. And for many up here in this zone, it is the earliest on record.
It's amazing. But no surprise, right? When you start thinking about what we've dealt with for a lot of the winter, how warm it has been in those areas. I mean, that's the area that we've been always talking about. This is 20, 30 degrees above average.
Right.
We've said that a lot.
Yeah, and there's pockets in the south that are actually a little behind. I think that's mainly because of all the clouds that we've had. A lot of rain, right? Just not getting the sun out there. All right, but there's going to be sun and there's going to be warmth this week.
Yes, there will. Population above average here, over 200 million, all the way through Thursday. Again, the vast majority of that's going to be in the eastern half of the country. The west is where we'll find a bit of chill and some snow. But Dr. Postel, could we see more chill impacting more areas?
Again, but this one will bring some sub-freezing air to parts of the Gulf Coast, maybe.
So the things that are blooming, like we just talked about, this could be a problem for some of them.
Yeah. That's the thing that I would like to know more about.
We're going to watch it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, but it seems like this happens every year, right? We get we get towards this time of the year and it's like, oh man, another cold air mass, that one last shot.
So we can't affect Mother Nature in terms of what gets blooming, but we can affect what we plant. So don't plant.
Yes.
Don't plant. It's going to be 80 tomorrow in a number of spots. Don't plant yet.
Yeah. Right. So let's go to the question of the day.
Leafing or blooming happening there.
At least not yet. Eventually, right?
Yeah, it takes a while.
June.
I was going to give a May. End of May. We'll be generous. You can go to Threads, send us your comments. You can share your pics and video with us using the hashtag Coast to Coast.
A clash of seasons is unfolding this week, and with the snow is set to pile up in the west, we know that. But it's also allowing for some spring storms to erupt over the central U.S. as well.
Some very classic March fashion, actually, this kind of storm. Now, we are looking at days. Next round comes in. First of all, we're still cleaning up from yesterday's storms and over the weekend where, we saw snow on Sunday. And then we had the big windstorm that affected everyone in the Northeast. So there's a lot of cleanup. A lot of these storm reports are actually from the wind. Now we got to get ready, though, for what comes next. And we'll start in the Midwest where Chicago, we get into some thunderstorms Thursday into Thursday night. Some rain sticks around. Temperatures today, Chicago, another warm one. We're going to be in the 70s, but then the rain does come back, and we'll see temperatures cooler on Friday, back down to near average, actually, for once. Rain for you in Iowa, where it is desperately needed. We keep looking at the drought monitor week after week here. Nothing's improving. If anything, it's only getting worse. And after a very warm and dry winter, now we're looking for rainfall to come on in. I was checking out some of the flood outlooks to see, what we're looking at in terms of this spring, because we had a below average snow season, and normally the snow melt goes into the rivers, and when you get rain like this, sometimes that can be a problem. But thankfully, I guess the good side of things, because we didn't have that snowpack, we don't have that snow melt, and so really it's just the rain itself which could cause flooding concerns. And we do have about maybe 1 to 2 inches coming in. It shouldn't be a widespread flood concern. We're going to be looking at Pittsburgh with rain coming back in by Thursday. We may even hear a rumble of thunder out there, but mainly rain Thursday night into Friday. We've got more rain coming on in. Then Friday night we're dropping back down to the upper 30s, but not cold enough to snow. So here we go with rain into Cleveland. It'll be rain, maybe even thunderstorms here. So that snow you got east of Cleveland, if there's anything left, it'll be gone out of this. We've got rain moving east for you as we see pretty much all of the Northeast getting into rain at first. There might be enough cold air sinking south into northern Vermont, New Hampshire, northern Maine, but again, pretty short-lived, and then moving out. Slight chance we could see some possible flash flooding out there as we see rainfall totals here, maybe up to 1 inch in spots here. We'll just have to watch this as we get into the forecast. Now, snow-wise, we do have, again, that little chance of snow coming in, mainly north, mainly looking at some of the ski resorts, getting in with more snowfall there into northern Vermont and New Hampshire and northern Maine, but it's really only about 1 to 3 inches, Alex.
Yeah, not a whole lot at all.
Oh, and I mean, it does matter where exactly that gets cut off.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just like we have the difficulty. It's incredible.
Yeah. Wind direction is everything. Well, just a week from today is the first day where you are course, the bonus points are coming out for the pictures. Here, we're giving out a lot of time.
Yeah, you got a little time. You got some time.
Yeah, although it's been a warm winter season.
Honestly, yeah. So maybe it may be a little earlier than you normally expect.
The coldest they ever got. I looked at this yesterday for some weird reason. 16, I think. I think Atlanta got colder.
16 in Boston?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a shocker.
Yeah.
Wow. 16. Wow, I would have thought somewhere near 0 or maybe
Yeah.
below. That's a common winter, but 16. Testimony to how warm it's been over the northern tier this
Yes,
winter.
that's right. All right, well, keep your comments coming here and your pictures, of course. You can go to Threads to share them. Days. Next round comes in. First of all, we're still cleaning up from yesterday's storms and over the weekend where, we saw snow on Sunday, and then we had the big windstorm that affected everyone in the Northeast. So there's a lot of cleanup. A lot of these storm reports are actually from the wind. Now we got to get ready, though, for what comes next. And we'll start in the Midwest where Chicago, we get into some thunderstorms Thursday into Thursday night. Some rain sticks around. Temperatures today, Chicago, another warm one. We're going to be in the 70s, but then the rain does come back, and we'll see temperatures cooler on Friday, back down to near average, actually, for once. Rain for you in Iowa, where it is desperately needed. We keep looking at the drought monitor week after week here. Nothing's improving. If anything, it's only getting worse. And after a very warm and dry winter, now we're looking for rainfall to come on in. I was checking out some of the flood outlooks to see, what we're looking at in terms of this spring, because we had a below average snow season, and normally the snow melt goes into the rivers, and when you get rain like this, sometimes that can be a problem. But thankfully, I guess the good side of things, because we didn't have that snowpack, we don't have that snow melt, and so really it's just the rain itself which could cause flooding concerns. And we do have about maybe 1 to 2 inches coming in. It shouldn't be a widespread flood concern. We're going to be looking at Pittsburgh with rain coming back in by Thursday. We may even hear a rumble of thunder out there, but mainly rain Thursday night into Friday. We've got more rain coming on in. Then Friday night we're dropping back down to the upper 30s, but not cold enough to snow. So here we go with rain into Cleveland. It'll be rain, maybe even thunderstorms here. So that snow you got east of Cleveland, if there's anything left, it'll be gone out of this. We've got rain moving east for you as we see pretty much all of the Northeast getting into rain at first. There might be enough cold air sinking south into northern Vermont, New Hampshire, northern Maine, but again, pretty short-lived, and then moving out. Slight chance we could see some possible flash flooding out there as we see rainfall totals here, maybe up to 1 inch in spots here. We'll just have to watch this as we get into the forecast. Now, snow-wise, we do have, again, that little chance of snow coming in, mainly north, mainly looking at some of the ski resorts, getting in with more snowfall there into northern Vermont and New Hampshire and northern Maine, but it's really only about 1 to 3 inches, Alex.
Yeah, not a whole lot at all.
And, it does matter where exactly that gets cut off.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just like we have the difficulty. It's incredible.
Yeah. Wind direction is everything. Well, just a week from today is the first day where you are. Of course, the bonus points are coming out for the pictures. Here, we're giving out a lot of...
Yeah, you got a little time. You got some time.
Yeah, although it's been a warm winter season.
Honestly, yeah. So maybe it may be a little earlier than you normally expect.
The coldest they ever got. I looked at this yesterday for some weird reason. 16, I think. I think Atlanta got colder.
16 in Boston?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a shocker.
Yeah.
Wow. 16. Wow, I would have thought somewhere near 0 or maybe below. That's a common winter, but 16. Testimony to how warm it's been over the northern tier this winter.
Yes, that's right. All right, well, keep your comments coming here and your pictures, of course. You can go to Threads to share them. 89% of fires are actually sparked by humans, and most of the time unintentionally, but things like that where a car dragging chains can create a spark, and that can create a fire. So these are the fires right now based on smoke emission, and you can see even some in the southeast where it's been raining a lot. But yes, there are still some areas where there are smoke emissions and fires. Some of the spots that we're most concerned about happen to be in eastern New Mexico and West Texas. This is where the ground is dry and the air is dry. And we're running relative humidities less than 40%. In fact, Amarillo, look at this drop. We've dropped down now into the 20s. That happens as we go into the afternoon. The temperature goes up. The moisture levels don't really change. And so the farther apart your temperature and your dew point are, well, that's going to drop your relative humidity. And that's a problem when it comes to the fire danger. It's elevated today across eastern New Mexico, through the Texas Panhandle, up into Kansas and parts of Oklahoma. It is critical for tomorrow, including in Lubbock and Amarillo. When you have a critical fire risk, it means fires could start easily and then spread rapidly. Fires may be difficult to control. That's what we're concerned about tomorrow, which means everyone needs to just be especially vigilant when it comes to fire risk and being safe. Even today, though, with elevated risk out there, brush and grass fires can steadily spread. So you want to make sure that you are just playing it safe. Alex?
All right, Jen. Well, of course, one thing.
Welcome back to America's Morning Headquarters. Snow lovers, this next forecast is for you. We're about to get some big snow. Both resorts in Colorado and Denver, get excited here. We could see maybe even feet of it. You go up in elevation.
It's going to add up, but it's March, which means it's not just the snow that we're going to be dealing with. Where it's warmer, well, that's fueling storms as well as heavy rain. And that bullseye, how about the Central Plains into sections of the Midwest? We're going to keep an eye on those areas closely. In fact, we got Dr. Postel standing by with a closer look at what we could see and also when some of the worst weather could have an impact on us.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to start it off.
Then everything does shift east, although it becomes more of a rain concern in places that just picked up a lot of rain. In fact, about a month's worth of rain, more than a month's worth of rain already in Atlanta, and we're not even halfway through the month.
Yeah, pretty soggy times. You can clearly see where the rain has really added up. The footprint here from the lower Mississippi Valley into the Carolinas, we've seen quite a bit so far this month.
Yep, and not that we need it, but we're going to get rain again here. It's similar timing coming into the end of your week and your weekend. I mean, literally looks the same as last week's forecast.
It does. I mean, some of that rain, heavy. It was Friday right here in Atlanta.
Yes.
Well, guess what? We're back to it this Friday, which means some of those soccer matches that don't take place on the turf, like my son's, probably getting washed out this weekend.
It's been tough.
Yeah.
Fields are just so very soggy too, and so the moisture coming back, you'll feel the dew points going back up here this week. Right now, it's kind of dry out there, actually, in the air, but we're going to see temperatures go up, dew points go up. It'll definitely give you more spring feel by Wednesday, Thursday. Absolutely.
I mean, 70s, 80s, pretty widespread out there for you. So all that's going to help to fuel some of those thunderstorms. Dr. Postel talked about the severe risk there in the middle of the country. Now, as everything kind of pushes east, so be wet, but I think we lose the edge in terms of the severe risk.
Right. And so, but rain and, even some lightning on Friday, that might be one risk that you see out there with a couple of areas. But rain coming back. I mean, Nashville, your Friday forecast, especially to start the day, back towards Birmingham, Montgomery, more rain coming in on your Friday. It's been a real headache for people driving through these areas, too.
Oh, yeah. Not fun at all. Friday night, driving in the rain at night is never fun. You may have to do that along the 20 corridor. And some of the rain may be enough to lead to some flash flooding here. There's your Thursday into Friday forecast. Fort Smith, Little Rock, right in the middle of that.
Well, clouds moving into Denver. Pushing that up a little bit. We do have quite a bit of snow in the forecast. So this is a look at the forecast right now, knowing that it could change. We always urge you to keep checking back in for updates. Significant, more than a foot and a half here. You go to the mountains and maybe out towards the Palmer Divide.
Yeah, absolutely. Easily, if this were to verify, by far the biggest snow for the Denver Metro this season.
Getting some of the models are putting out some extreme amounts, and getting more than 2 feet of snow in the mountains, even there, that's a lot here. But in the springtime, that's why we get our snow in March. We tap into this Gulf of Mexico moisture. Yeah,
as that gets flung back into some of the cold air that's going to be in place. There you can see it. Sets the stage for snow to pile up. And yeah, certainly the higher up you head, the more it'll add up out there. I mean, 2 to 3 feet is a possibility.
Yeah, Denver itself here, you can see right on the edge. Obviously, you go west of town, you go up in elevation. Elevation always matters, makes it a big deal. But because elevation matters so much, the wind direction is everything here.
It really is. You switch it just one direction, you either get the snow building up in the Palmer Divide and not much off towards the north, or if it's coming in directly out of the east, now you get the front range getting on the big snow. So it matters big time.
Well, Denver, notoriously tricky city to forecast for snow.
So we want to bring in National Weather Service. How Denver is notoriously one of those spots where it's usually not a slam dunk. It's going to absolutely happen kind of situation there. So tell us why it is so difficult to forecast snowstorms there in and around Denver.
I think
Though for this week here, and there's kind of two pieces of it. One is the big upper level low that gets cut off. Is that going to be?
What's your confidence level here in terms of this snowstorm driving in? Current forecast calling for, as you said, a pretty decent snowstorm. What's the confidence level in that actually happening?
So the confidence is always a little bit higher.
What do you think could go wrong with the forecast here? Do you think, either the position of maybe one of the areas of low pressure that we're tracking, or what do you think could really throw the forecast?
So I think that.
Wow. Well, I tell you, I know you're pulling your hair out, hoping this one goes well. We'll certainly be hoping for that as well. Of course, everyone be safe. Thanks again, meteorologist Zach Harris there with the National Weather Service there in Boulder. Thanks so much for joining us. Those guys do work tirelessly to get that forecast as right as possible to keep everyone as safe as possible.
And I love the confidence intervals that they give now, and they give you a range. In the forecast, we try to do the same as well, which is, it is hard to pinpoint one exact number when it comes to snowfall forecast, especially days in advance. So you can can kind of get a sense of, what we're expecting, but keep checking back because, as you know, it's Mother Nature. Things can change.
Never fails. You look at
stinky, the pollen, the mud. But that is such a beautiful spectacle.
Yeah.
That redeems it all.
It does. It kind of brings you back to okay, it's not a bad season after all.
So right now, though, a lot of you are seeing scenes a little early, a little ahead of schedule. This is a look at the spring leaf out by the National Phenology Network, which looks at when things leaf out based on the honeysuckle and the lilac bushes when their leaves come out. We are well above average, more than 20 days. And for many up here in this zone, it is the earliest on record.
It's amazing. But no surprise, right? We start thinking about what we've dealt with for a lot of the winter, how warm it has been in those areas. I mean, that's the area that we've been always talking about. This is 20, 30 degrees above average.
Right.
We've said that a lot. Yeah,
and there's pockets in the south that are actually a little behind. I think that's mainly because of all the clouds that we've had. A lot of rain, right? Just not getting the sun out there. All right, but there's going to be sun and there's going to be warmth this week.
Yes, there will. Population above average here, over 200 million all the way through Thursday. Again, the vast majority of that's going to be in the eastern half of the country. The west is where we'll find a bit of chill and some snow. But Dr. Postel, could we see more chill impacting more areas